Hello and welcome to Queendom TV, and today I'm going to be talking about Friday the 13th, where that comes from. Is it lucky? Isn't it lucky? What's the history? Let's get into it, guys, because I feel like that Friday the 13th is something that people see generally as an unlucky day. And there's a lot of these things, these tales, these things that we talk about, and we don't really know the origin. And I found out some rather interesting things about Friday the 13th. I also referenced this in one of my videos. I believe it was about The Omen, the movie, the horror film. So check out that video if you haven't, to hear about some crazy things that have happened on some of these horror films or these films that involved, witchcraft or spiritual things. But today we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th and whether it's unlucky or not. Now, just to kick off, let's talk about Friday itself. Now, Friday and the days of the week are actually named after mythological gods. I'll say mythological for now. But they're named after, like, different gods of mythology. So Friday is actually named after Freya, also known as Frigga, which I'm wondering if that's actually just another way of saying Freya, like whatever. But anyway, and this is a Norse goddess who's free-spirited goddess of love and fertility. That's where Friday comes from. That's why, like, Thursday is named after Thor Thursday, right? Cool. So that's how we get our days, where the origin of the days of the week actually comes from. Very interesting. Now, Freya has said that when the Norse and Germanic tribes converted to Christianity, she was banished in shame to a mountaintop and labeled a witch. So when people were turning to Christianity, this is based on mythology. Now, I said based on because I personally believe that a lot of this mythology is real. I think it's actually an explanation of what was going on, because even these demigods and stuff, there is a part in the Bible where just before Noah's Ark, it talks about how the fallen the watchers, so these angels that God had sent to watch over humankind, saw that women in human women were good, and they had children with them. And that's where all these idea of giants, titans, these half man, half god-like beings, that's where it all comes from, and that's all very real. And also actually the origin of where demons come from, but we can talk about that in another video. If you guys want to know about that, then let me know. But so when I hear this type of stuff, I believe that this is true. This probably happened to some extent. Maybe they weren't called Freya, but it was some kind of an entity. And when you go and look into it, you can find the parallels between the Bible, the all the different types of mythologies. A lot of them stories all have similar trails of thoughts. There'll be the same story. This is why you keep hearing the same story, just with like different names, right? Because it's something that really happened, but every different culture, lots of different cultures have different interpretations of what was doing what, right? And the devil, he is like he's a shapeshifter. He wears many different hats, right? His face is whoever he needs you to be, right? Whoever he's going to convince you to worship him, that's who he's going to show up as, right? So anyway, she got banished to the mountaintop, right? And she was labeled a witch. So it's believed that every Friday, this is what some people believe, that every Friday, the spiteful goddess convenes a meeting with 11 other witches and the devil. Let's do the math there. 11 witches plus Freya is 12, plus the devil is 13, the gathering of the 13, and they plot ill turns of fate for the coming weeks. So ill turns of fate. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about gathering of the 13. This is very interesting to me because I discovered that in a particular secret society that I'm not going to name for all intents and purposes, they actually also have a is it in this notebook? I have so many notebooks. They also have like the highest level of their hierarchy is also a group of 13 witches, right? A particular secret society that we're all aware of, also in the entertainment industry, has a gathering of 13, which is the highest level. I can't remember what their name is called. Oh, I wish I could remember what their name was called. I might check it in my book, my other notebook in a second. But anyways, so that was interesting. And then the ill turns of fate is another interesting part, because the ill turns of fate means when people think that they're getting unlucky, right? she's probably convening with the witches and the demons and everything, and they're thinking, how can we mess with the human beings since they decided to do this, and they banished me to the mountaintops. Let's see how we can destroy people. Because this is what I said, guys. I've said before, and I'll say it again, and nothing that happens doesn't first happen in the spiritual realm. Things aren't just happening, right? Things aren't just happening. There is a reason why they're happening. It's just that a lot of the time we're not seeing it in the current world that we're living in. Sorry, I was just reading my notes and I realized that this is not something I want to talk about on YouTube. So I'm going to need somewhere else where I can get into the nitty gritty of like some of this stuff. But anyway, so so that's what they're doing. They're planning. That's what a lot of people believe. And I wanted to talk about the number 13 because, again, with the devil is an imitator. The enemy, the kingdom of darkness, is an imitator of the kingdom of light, right? That's why you have Christ, they have the Antichrist. Right now, we have 12 in the Bible. Biblically, 12 is a symbol of like governmental perfection. A lot of us believe because, you know, you had 12 disciples, you have the 12 tribes of Judah, you know, all these different 12 things representing like the perfection in like a governmental kind of instance, right? And with the enemy, there's always one less or one more than what is true, what is right, what is perfect. That's why the enemy is a deceiver. So we've gone up to 13. That's kind of why I think 13 is symbolic of that. And the number 13, if you ask witches, Wiccans of today who actually are practicing in this demonic activity stuff, they very much enjoy the 13th. In fact, we'll get into that actually. Are we going to get into that? Yeah, they very much support the 13th. In fact, Friday the 13th for witches today and people who are in the demonic kingdom or who practice the demonic stuff, they actually see Friday the 13th as a day of good luck for them and a great day to do spells. So it's no wonder that it seems like an unlucky day because there are more witches that day doing spells. And the spells, even though some witches think they're doing good magic, there's no such thing as good magic. There's no such thing. You're either doing things with God and through the power of God and Christ, or you're doing demonic stuff if it's in the spiritual realm, right? There's no in between. So a lot of them who are doing good stuff, the reason they have a lot of things that go wrong, and the reason why it's going wrong is because from the kingdom of darkness, and like how they say in so many cartoons and movies and fairy tales, magic comes with a price. Yes, magic that's not from God comes with a price, right? And so that's why I think a lot of these spells and stuff they do, that's probably why to some extent it does feel like Friday the 13th are unlucky. Interestingly, in Scandinavia, Friday was known as the witches' Sabbath. So for those of you guys who don't know, the Sabbath is the 7th day of the week. Technically, in terms of the real, you know, God's calendar of doing things, the Hebraic way of doing things, the 7th day would be starting at sunset on Friday and going into sunset on Saturday, right? So interesting again how the witches' Sabbath is the day before that, right? So again, just another copying. Why do you need to have a Sabbath? A lot of witches apparently still, from what I've seen, still treat the witches' Sabbath as a Sabbath also for the kingdom of darkness. And again, what I just said about the kingdom of darkness always imitating the kingdom of God. So now also the other thing that came up about for Friday and why Friday is considered potentially a day for witchcraft and whatnot is because it's the 6th day of the Gregorian week of the Gregorian calendar. So the type of week that we have, which isn't the like biblical week, like I mentioned, where the 7th day starts on Friday, but in in what we now use today, the 6th day of the week being Friday is obviously 6 is the number of man. That's why we have 666 is the number of the Antichrist, because, you know, man sins, it represents kind of evil, etc., etc. So again, that in and of itself kind of representing not things that are godly. Anyway, interestingly, let's flip that as well, and let's talk about some interesting things that took place on Fridays or Friday the 13th, both biblically and worldwide. So Jesus' crucifixion was on a Friday. Eve was tempted by Adam on a Friday. Now this is what some of the articles that I found have claimed, and if you guys want me to ever share some of this stuff, then just let me know. Also feel free to search it up. Lots of people have great articles where they've got their references and stuff, and you can follow up to see how they work this stuff out. A lot of biblical stuff, a lot of like the Jewish people of today, and scholars have done literal research to be able to work out what days and times certain things took place. Also, apparently the flood of Noah took place on a Friday, or started on a Friday. The Tower of Babel and everything that happened with that apparently was on a Friday. So these are all biblical events. Interestingly, Rome did executions on Fridays. Britain used to do hangings on Fridays. But this is an interesting one for those of us who've been watching other videos on this channel. Abel apparently was killed by Cain on Friday, and not just Friday, a Friday the 13th. Now, I would love to know to see if this is true. This is what somebody is speculating or has calculated. And so you can see why a lot of these instances, even the biblical ones, Jesus's crucifixion, people shouldn't have been crucifying him. They didn't know any better. It's fine. That was part of God's plan. Eve tempting Adam, not great, Eve. Not a great move there. Flood of Noah, so that was God's judgment. Tower of Babel, that was people trying to make themselves better than God again. Abel being killed by Cain, Friday the 13th. Obviously, you don't have to explain that one. And obviously, executions and hangings. And I think as well, there's certain things get to be done at certain times, it starts to build a kind of association with those things. And that's why I think even the whole Freya thing, it's like how people call 3 a.m. in the morning the witch's hour, or the witching hour, between like 3 and 4 a.m. That's when a lot of people in the kingdom of darkness are actually doing their witchcraft. And I actually recommend, somebody else recommended this. I also started doing this just myself, like praying at 2 in the morning. A lot of times I like to pray at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I do that specifically so that whatever anybody's trying to do in your girl's direction, I'm protected. I'm like, Lord, I got there first. I block everything that is coming from the kingdom of darkness in the name of Jesus. And I do that at 2 a.m. because I know 3 o'clock is the witching hour. That's why a lot of people find themselves suddenly waking up at 3 a.m. or weird things happening at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. If you live near certain places where they got forests and monuments, a lot of these monuments that you see in a lot of forest outdoor places are also witches things as well. Might to add witches and warlocks. They've done things so they can do all their witchcraft. So you might hear chanting. I've heard people talk about how they've heard chanting coming from the parks and stuff in the forest in the middle of the night. So yeah, people be doing this stuff, like it's very real. But I just thought I would share this with you guys, where this whole Friday the 13th thing comes from. And so I think Friday the 13th to the average person may seem very unlucky just for the sake of that, probably because there are genuinely witches, and because where I discovered about that secret society that I mentioned. The guy who was talking about this, and I was listening to an interview from 50 years ago, by the way, of a guy who now has mysteriously disappeared. That's why I'm not talking about this on YouTube, because I don't want to, mysteriously disappear. Although the Lord is protecting me, but I'll get into this stuff more on a different platform would be better. He was saying that every Friday the 13th, they celebrate, in the kingdom of darkness, because that's like, okay, this is our day. This is the day that we, that is for us. So that's very weird, very, very weird to me. Very, very weird. Yeah, so that's all about Friday the 13th. Is it something to panic about? No. If you're me, I'll just say a prayer if there's ever Friday the 13th, and just be aware that a lot of these little things that we know, a lot of these things that people talk about, don't take things lightly. I'm trying to be more somebody who doesn't talk about things or even use sayings that I don't understand, because a lot of the time we're doing and saying things and being in agreement with things we don't really get, and that can be very detrimental. So I hope this video has been really helpful to you guys in terms of breaking down, Friday the 13th, where it comes from more than one perspective, because I believe in order to understand fully, you should consider all sides of the argument. And I think actually all sides of the argument can help you to more understand, what really happened. Although I believe that the Bible is truth, so I'm really comparing everything to that. And the Bible proves itself to be truth in my research. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think about Friday the 13th. Let me know what you thought, where you thought it came from, or any things you guys have heard about that. Let me know that in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed my video, because I want to see you again, and to see some of my other videos as well. Don't forget to like this video if you did enjoy it. I would really, really appreciate it. Other than that, God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.